Okay, I kind of sad that this month is coming to a close. Let me turn the video on here. I'm sorry. That this month is coming to a close. We're going to have to get Sheldon to come back. We're going to impose on him again at some point in the future. But uh, I give you our friend, Sheldon.
Uh, Hi, everybody. Sheldon F, the alcoholic. It's been a pleasure to come and hang out with you guys the last few weeks, this last month, and um, let's just jump right in. So we're on page 93. The first new paragraph, it says, when dealing with such a person or somebody that we think might be a prospect for Alcoholics Anonymous, we better use everyday language to describe spiritual principles. There's no use in arousing any prejudice he may have against certain theological terms and conceptions about which he may already be confused. Don't raise such issues, no matter what your own convictions are. It's so tempting when you have been connected to a power greater than yourself to think that you have all the answers and you know. But it's such an individual journey, it's such a personal experience that it's important that we give everybody their full room, their breadth. The book talks about the realm of the spirit being broad and roomy, and we certainly don't want to narrow that path for anyone. Earlier on in the book, it reminds me when I'm first on this journey not to let any prejudice that I have against spiritual terms deter me from asking myself what they mean to me. And I certainly want to remind the new man as he comes in that he shouldn't let his prejudice, or my prejudice for that matter, deter him from having his own experience. It says your prospect may belong to religious denomination. His religious education and training may be far superior to your own. In that case, he's going to wonder how you can add anything to what he already knows. But he'll be curious to learn why his own convictions have not worked and why yours seem to have worked so well. He may be an example of the truth that faith alone is insufficient. To be vital, faith must be accompanied by self sacrifice and unselfish, constructive action. Let him see that you are not there to instruct him in religion. Admit he probably knows more about it than you do, but call his attention to the fact that however deep his faith and knowledge, he could not have applied it or he wouldn't drink. Perhaps your story will help him see where he has failed to practice the very precepts that he knows so well. We represent no particular faith or denomination. We are dealing only with general principles common to most denominations. I like that, common to most denominations. It's a funny thing when you boil most religious ideas down to their core and you remove dogma and you remove the stories and the myths and you look at the core principles. It seems to me, and I could be crazy, but it seems to me that most faiths come down to clean house, trust God, and help others. That at its core, Alcoholics Anonymous is the basis of most faiths without any dogma. But it's so important that we leave the dogma out. That that members of Alcoholics Anonymous have the right to their own journey. I was at a meeting the other night, and one of the things that we were discussing was that to the outside individual, to someone that's not a member of AA, if they looked at us, we look like a religion, don't we? I mean, we kind of do. We kind of look like it. I mean, we meet at a regular time, much like a church or a temple might meet. We begin our service typically, or our meeting, we begin with a prayer, and we typically end with a prayer. We pass a basket and take contributions, and we talk a lot about God. So from the outside looking in, we look a lot like a religion, but we resist that, don't we? I know I resist that notion that AA is a religion. What separates us from from our brothers and sisters in the religious world. And I think what separates us is that we don't have any dogma. We don't tell you what to believe. We don't tell you how to believe. We encourage you to bring your own beliefs with you. That if you are a member of a religious organization, that you should bring those beliefs with you. But this question of if somebody who is new and is struggling has some deep religious convictions or great learning or has been more involved in a religious idea than I have, which I set that bar incredibly low. Boy, if you go to church on a couple of or I was born into a Jewish home. If you go to temple on one or two of the high holy days every couple of years, you've surpassed me. I mean, when I was 13, I took my cash and prizes and left the tribe for God's sake. So I set a very, very low bar on participation in any kind of a religious idea. But some people come to AA with great religious learning. Why are we able to help when their religious training hasn't been able to? And this is a little mysterious. I'll tell you this though. In AA, if somebody is struggling with their religious connection, we encourage them to search and seek and look anywhere they can to find some kind of a connection, but we don't send them to church. But if you are clergy and you are struggling to drink, and they have prayed over you and they have done everything they can think of, they send you to AA. We are the place that the great religious scholars in the world come to get sober when they struggle, because there is something magical that happens here. And I have to believe from my own experience that it starts with that connection. It starts with that identification. It starts with that idea that, look, man, no matter where you've been or where you're from or who you are, I can't stop drinking either. And I don't come to you with judgment. I come to you as the broken helping the broken. And that may be the reason that we can help even those with deeper faith than our own, because we come without judgment. My first sponsor used to say that his experience with most religious groups was that they would say, come sinner and join our group, but once you get here, sin no more. And in AA, we say, come sinner, come and sin as long as you can stand it. It may help you connect more, and it will certainly entertain us. So come, sinner, and continue to sin. And maybe that's part of the reason why we're able to help when other people can't. But we're not here to teach anybody any religious or spiritual ideas. We're here to help people find a connection that will allow them to gain recovery from alcoholism. It says outline the program of action. Outline the program of action explaining how you made a self-appraisal, how you straightened out your past, and why you're now endeavoring to be helpful to him. It is important for him to realize that your attempt to pass this on to him plays a vital part in your own recovery. Actually, he may be helping you more than you are helping him. Make it plain he's under no obligation to you, that you hope only that he will try to help other alcoholics when he escapes his own difficulties. Lay out the steps, lay out the process, lay out what we do here. We are not just people that go to meetings. Meetings are important. It is one of the three vital sides of our triangle. I like what Paul from Queen says when he says, lots of meetings make it easy, few meetings make it hard, no meetings make it impossible. Meetings are important, but they're only one part of the process, and meetings aren't enough. You have to do the steps too, and you have to sponsor people and be involved in service also. You have to be part of the whole three sides of the triangle, and we don't hide that from anybody. We want our new people to understand what it is that we have to offer. And so we lay out this process and we explain what we had to do. We tell them that we had to do a 4-step. We tell them we had to do a 9-step. And then we explain to them why we're willing to help them now. What is this offer of sponsorship? And that they don't, there's no debt to pay, no access to grind, no lectures to enjoy, that I'm not trying to help them because if I can sponsor enough people in my home group, I'll get a free toaster. I'm not here trying to collect sponsees. It's not about that. I was given Alcoholics Anonymous for free by a man. And what he told me was he said that I don't owe him anything. I could never owe him anything. But he did suggest that I owe the ethic of Alcoholics Anonymous, that everything I get from being here, I owe to the ethic of Alcoholics Anonymous, and I will repay it through service work, primarily sponsoring people. And this stuff, this book study stuff and the speaking stuff it's the icing on the cake, and I don't know how much of it really is service and how much of it is because I like the sound of my own voice. It's kneecap to kneecap at the kitchen table is where the service work is done. It's one man or one woman helping another man or another woman going through the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous and taking them on this journey. And then it says, express to them that he may be helping you more than you're helping him. And I tell you a funny thing, statistically, I'm not a very good sponsor. I mean, I'm armed about the facts about myself, and I understand the program and the process, and I'm adequate, I'm sure, but statistically, I'm not that good. I'm sober 29 years. I started sponsoring people. I was maybe 6 months sober. I'll bet you with no exaggeration, I've probably had, I couldn't even tell you. If I had to guess, and I wanted to guess super, super low so I didn't overstate it, probably 10 or 15 people a year have asked me to sponsor. It's probably more than that. But let's say it's 10 people a year, a little more, 29 years. Let's say 300 people. Over the time I've been sober, 300 people have asked me to sponsor them. Well, I got to tell you, I'm only actively sponsoring about 12 or 15, 5% of them. 95% of them have found another way to either, keep drinking and they're dead, or they found somebody better equipped to help sponsor them in Alcoholics Anonymous. But I'm not that effective. Right. I got a 5% success rate. I mean, holy cow. If you're impressed by my ability to communicate and you ask me to sponsor you, I'm not going to improve your odds of staying sober that much more than any other knucklehead at your home group, for crying out loud. But by sponsoring people and by being involved in this work, God has had a 100% success rate in keeping me sober for the last 29 and a half years. And that's pretty impressive. I will tell you, of most of the people that I have sponsored, they've all kept me sponsored, kept me sober, and I haven't kept all of them sober. In December of 2017, I'm pretty sure, it's 17 or 18, pretty sure it was 17. 3 men that I sponsored died in that month. One homeless under a bush on the Las Vegas Strip, one in a halfway house that he was staying at, he OD'd, and one sitting in his car in a bad neighborhood in the wrong part of town, having got a bad bag of heroin. And that's 3 men in 1 month that all died. So for me to think that I'm helping the new guy is a little strangely arrogant, right? When they're not, half of them are dead, half of them aren't sober, a couple of them are still hanging around, but I'm the one that stayed sober. It's so easy for me, and maybe I'm belaboring this point a little long, but I think if I've made much mistakes in AA, and I have made much mistakes, but if there's one thing that I think about sometimes and I regret, it is in early sobriety, I thought the role of sponsor was the role of boss. I thought that when you asked me to sponsor you, that somehow I was in charge and you owed me your obedience. And it took me a long time in Alcoholics Anonymous for me to realize that the role of a sponsor is servant, that I am here to serve. I am not in charge. I'm not your daddy. I'm not here to make mistakes. I mean, to tell you what to do. I'm not here to make your decisions for you. I'm simply here to be helpful. And the truth of this line, actually, he may be helping you more than you are helping him. I think I can be much more effective when I realize my role is servant. Make it plain he's under no obligation to you, that you only hope that he will try to help another alcoholic when he escapes his own difficulties, that no one could owe me anything in AA, that I do hope that they realize they owe the ethic of Alcoholics Anonymous, and they do owe the idea that they need to give this away and carry this forwards. See just how important it is that he place the welfare of other people ahead of his own. Make it clear he's under no pressure, that he needn't see you again if he doesn't want to. And you shouldn't be offended if he wants to call it off, for he has helped you more than you have helped him. If your talk has been sane, quiet, and full of human understanding, you've perhaps made a friend. Maybe you have disturbed him about the question of alcoholism. This is all to the good. The more hopeless he feels, the better. He will be more likely to follow your suggestions. The more hopeless he feels, the better. It's a good job that we have a 12-step program. If we had a one-step program, I think the suicide rate of new alcoholics would be horrendous, right? Because the idea of step one is to really impress upon the new person how screwed they are, that there is no hope. This welcome home, let us love you till you can learn to love yourself. You're in a safe place now. All of these things do more harm than good. That hopefully when I have met with a new guy for the first time, that he understands two things. And one is that if he or she suffer from what I suffer from, that they are screwed, that there is no solution to it for thousands of years, and that people by the score die every day in every town, everywhere in the world. But that we have a solution, that by taking the steps and by following this outline of the program of action, explaining how we made the self-appraisal, how it starts that top paragraph at the top of the page, by explaining that there is a solution, and that we are properly armed with the facts about ourselves, and that we can show them a path that they will follow, that will allow them to get recovery from alcoholism. The candidate may give reasons why he need not follow the program. He may rebel at the thought of a drastic house cleaning, which requires discussion with other people. Don't contradict such views. Think about that. Don't contradict such views. I've spent years early in sobriety poking that guy in the chest, right? And getting nose to nose. You're gonna die, kid. But the book suggests that I don't contradict such views. Tell him that you once felt as he does, but you doubt whether or not you would have made much progress had you not taken action. On your first visit, tell him about the Fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous. If he shows interest, lend him your copy of this book. On your first visit, all of these things we've been discussing up until now are the first time that we meet with a new man or a new woman. Let them know right out of the gate that they suffer from a disease that is terminal, incurable, deadly, that they are hopeless, that it's not a fast death, it's a slow, painful death. It's by the time you're gone, everybody that ever loved you, if they're not glad you're dead, they're certainly relieved that this is the disease they have, and that there is a way out. But that way out requires a few things. It requires that they be willing to seek to live a life of spiritual principle, that they be willing to find a connection to a power greater than themselves, that they be willing to do step 4 and 5. They be willing to take an inventory and share it with someone, not necessarily you, but someone. That they be willing to make 9-step amends. That they be willing to fix the damage that they've caused in their life. And that they be willing to do 12-step work. That they be willing to carry this message. Lay this out for them. And then lend them your copy of the book should they want it. I have a friend of mine who always laughs when he goes to big book studies because he never has any highlights in his book. I have very few in mine, but he never has any highlights in his book. I don't have very many in mine, and this is controversial, and some of you have lots of them, and I think you should. It's important for you to have them. I don't have them because I don't want to have the old experience every time I read the big book. It's hard for me to have a new experience when I'm reading my own old notes. So I keep my book clean so I can have a new experience. Other people love the highlights, and I used to have a lot of highlights, and that's important too. He says he has no highlights in his book because he's never kept one more than 3 or 4 months. He always lends them to newcomers, and they never give them back to him. But that is what it suggests, right? And some of us are so like, oh, I got to keep my book, and oh, if your book's not falling apart, your life probably is. Well, if you're following the instructions in the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous, you shouldn't have an old book. You should have given it to a newcomer by now. I know. You shouldn't. You should keep your book. Maybe carry a spare so you can lend it to a newcomer. I just love that line. I just think it's a fabulous line. If he shows any interest, lend him your copy of this book. And unless he wants to talk further about himself, don't wear out your welcome. Give him a chance to think it over. If you do stay, let him steer the conversation. Again, not sit down, shut up, take the cotton out of your ears and put it in your mouth, but let them talk about them. Let them feel the identification. Let them feel that we care. Give them a chance to think it over. If you do stay, let him steer the conversation if he likes. Sometimes the new man will be anxious to proceed at once. You may be tempted to let him do so. This is sometimes a mistake. If he has trouble later, he is likely to say you rushed him. You will be most successful with an alcoholic if you do not exhibit any passion or crusade for reform. Never talk down to an alcoholic from any moral or spiritual hilltop. Simply lay out the kit of spiritual tools for his inspection. Show him how they worked for you. Offer him friendship and fellowship. Tell him that if he wants to get well, you will do anything to help. And this is, again, a little controversial because in Alcoholics Anonymous, there are many different flavors. And there are some people that think you should grab a new guy and in 12 or 13 hours, go through all the steps with him immediately. They'll even tell this story that historically is not true, that that's how the original members did it. And Wilson cautions against that. You know, the book does use terms like next relaunched. It does suggest we do these things right away. So maybe Bill's talking out of both sides of his mouth. But what he's really talking about is this idea of servant, that I am not in charge. I am not here to make demands. I simply lay out the kit of spiritual tools, and I encourage the new man or woman that this is what I did. And if they'd like help doing it, I'm happy to help them at their pace, when they're ready, not in their way, because we're going to do it the way that I was taught. But we're not here to pressure. We're not here to push. We're simply here to be helpful. My job is a guide, not a boss. I'm here to help, not instruct. The sponsor is not the master. He is the servant. Thank you for listening.